Good evening from New York. Jordan Sheridan. Hope everyone had a lovely, lovely day. I'm coming live just a little bit later today. Just a little bit later today, as I was extremely, extremely busy all day today. I can't really reveal everything, but there's definitely some things that I've been working on that look like we might be close to some resolution. So definitely stay tuned. I have some, what do they say? I have some fish in the fryer? Whatever they say. I don't know what the cool kids say. But I've been working on some stories all day. I've been working on one story for 6 months, and it seems like we have some momentum to get them published. So I'm excited about that. I also was doing some business type stuff today to try and launch the media revolution. If you don't know, we're trying to launch a new media network. And, oh, nobody can hear me. There we go. We're trying to launch a new media network and had some positive things happen on that front today. It's hard to go live every day while you're also trying to report, while you're also trying to set up business affairs. But I'm here, even if it's not a lot of viewers late in the night, but hopefully the audience climbs. Definitely press the share button. Let's get this up to as many people as possible. And also, I'm hoping, I'm praying that the lighting is a little bit better now because I thought it was like my lights weren't good enough, but I don't think I had the brightness on my computer high enough. So I just set the brightness to like full, and now I could see myself, and hopefully you could see me. I mean, maybe some of you don't want to see me, but that's okay too. But yeah, a lot of stuff going on. I wish I could tell you one thing in particular that's really exciting and hopefully means a major story being published soon, but I can't get into the details yet, so you'll just have to trust me. But as you know, I was just in Virginia and West Virginia last week. We covered the tree protests that have been spreading across Virginia to stop the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which is a natural gas pipeline that is totally unnecessary. And people have been taking to their trees to stop the pipeline so that the pipeline company couldn't cut down their trees. And so ultimately they could delay construction. I interviewed a mother and a daughter for over an hour, Red Terry and Minor Terry. Then I followed their little tour that they did. We went to the press conference they had. They are barnstorming right now much of Virginia to try and get this pipeline stopped. Then we went down to West Virginia and we covered the West Virginia primary in person, where Paula Jean Swearingen, who literally a year ago nobody knew who she was in West Virginia, she got 48,000 votes against one of the most entrenched, corporate, corrupt Democrats in the country, Joe Manchin. She got 30% of the vote to his 68%, which sounds like she got clobbered, and she lost. I mean, no mistake about it, but it's positive because when you see progressive candidates who really had no name recognition, were outspent. I think he had over $4 million for his campaign compared to her, I think, 100 to 200,000. Seeing them just from knocking on doors and getting that progressive message out, get 48,000 votes bodes well for her potentially next time running. And it also shows that you could get a lot of votes, even if you don't win right away. You can get a lot of votes with that progressive message. And she might get better funding next time, so we'll definitely follow Paula Jean. And then we went up to another part of Virginia, to Buckingham County, because very few people are covering this, but there is another pipeline, Atlantic Coast Pipeline, that is essentially going to be built through and have its massive compressor station built on top of a historic black church. Because, of course, dump the pipeline on a bunch of poor black people, right? So I interviewed one amazing gentleman in the church, John Lowry, who is a descendant of slaves, or has in his family lineage, I should say, slaves. There are slaves buried next to the church, and they're putting a compressor station right next to it. So those interviews are up on YouTube on this channel. And temporarily, I'm not taking credit for it. It has nothing to do with the fact that I was there. But temporarily, a judge has now reversed a decision and denied a key permit that the oil company needs for the pipeline, a fishing and wildlife permit. So it remains to be seen. Right now, it's kind of in a gray area whether construction will be stopped temporarily. But a judge has said, denied this permit, which should stop the construction. I've been looking it up today to see if construction has been stopped. We're waiting to see. So a lot of good stuff. Definitely go on the channel, youtube.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports to check these videos out. And definitely share all these videos. YouTube is doing as much as possible to make sure you don't see journalism like this, to make sure my videos aren't seen by the masses, to make sure you don't even know when I'm live. I'm sure a lot of you have notifications set, but they don't come to you when I'm live. If you do click the bell, make sure you click it and then click on all notifications. So I wanted to come to you tonight because there's another important story, and it's a tree protester that is still up in the trees. She has been up in these trees, a 28-year-old. I don't know her full name, but they call her Nutty. She's a 28-year-old who first climbed up a giant pole on Peters Mountain, which is kind of on that West Virginia border. She climbed up that pole and has literally been up on a pole since March 27th. Since March 27th. We're almost at May 27th in 10 days. So she's already been up in the pole for a month and a half, through freezing temperatures, now through hot temperatures, and she is being denied food that's being donated to her. She's being denied water that is being donated by the U.S. Forest Service, which we pay with our tax dollars, the U.S. Forest Service. And essentially, she's being denied food and water because they want to starve her out. They want to make it so she gets so hungry and so dehydrated, or that she has a critical health problem, that she has no choice but to come down. She has energy bars. She's literally drinking water by opening her mouth for when rainwater comes down. This is what's going on. They've also denied her medical care. So, a lawsuit has been filed by the Rutherford Institute against the U.S. Forest Service for denying her that medical care, that critical care. Because in America, are we allowed to protest or not? And if we do protest, is it legal or humane to deny someone who's exercising their First Amendment right, the right to drink and eat? So, a lawsuit has been filed, and I interviewed the attorney who has filed the lawsuit earlier today. His name is John Whitehead. Let me make sure about that. Yes, John Whitehead. Let's take a listen to my interview. Again, she's been up there for over 50 days. She's being denied food. She's being denied water. She's being denied medical attention and a medical checkup. Still going on atop a tree, or a monopod they call it, and on Peters Mountain. Share this video right now. We got to get this out. It's a major story that's getting no media attention. Here's the interview with the attorney.
Wanted to first ask, for people unfamiliar, what kind of medical care was attempted, and what kind of care was denied by the Forest Service?
Well, just Gilbert had by loudspeaker asked her if she, if he could examine her and understand, whatever. And she basically gave an affirmative reply, and then Gilbert was basically told by the guards there if he moved forward he'd be arrested, so he wasn't allowed to do it. So that's the reason we filed our lawsuit under the First Amendment, basically, world, Greece. He was in Hurricane Katrina. He's been in the Honduras, Jamaica, doing the same thing. It's all based on his religious beliefs that, as a Christian, he should be there trying to help, the down and out. And so that's what he does. So, and I mean, I'm very, proud of people like Greg Gelbart who'll go out there, under threat of arrest or whatever to try to help somebody, and then go ahead and file a lawsuit to hopefully get the courts to look at the constitutional basis of this.
And, obviously there's friction between the right to protest in America versus protesting on private property. My presumption is the oil company and the government say this is the oil company's land through eminent domain now. What's the constitutional argument that Nutty is legally and constitutionally entitled to medical care?
Well, the fact that, here's the thing, I guess the question would be is, what is the reason for denying her the care? That would be the real question. And there really is no true reason. If she's sitting up there, and again, medical authorities, and Greg Gelbart, I'm not a doctor, but he said, she could be suffering from kidney failure, she doesn't know it, deep vein thrombosis, whatever that is, things that he's listed to me, the body collapsing, because sitting and not moving a lot. And you got someone catching rainwater and eating energy bars and being denied food by the government. Why wouldn't a doctor be able to walk up, do a short exam, make sure you're okay, and come down? Mm-hmm. It makes no sense to me. And by the way, that's these are national forests. The argument of eminent domain, I don't like the way it's used. It's corporations working with the government basically to grab land. I'm sorry. And the question I've got is, you have government agents blocking access food to this woman and water. They're burning fires near the pole. They're sending smoke into her monopod. They're training spotlights on her at night. They're operating a noisy generator at the base of the pole. What kind of, and it's not, is it really private property when you got the government working with corporations? No, I mean, I got real concerns with this, and they haven't done their research. I mean, you have these pipelines sneaking under thousands of rivers and streams across this state, across Virginia, could be disastrous. So, I think that one here that Americans should be up in arms about this. Is it really? I mean, Nutty's a taxpayer. I'm a taxpayer. You're a taxpayer. I can't walk on that land. You got some woman up in a tree who could be injured, and you got a valid doctor, and he can't see her. He's right. A taxpayer. Those trees, who does those trees belong to? We the people, right? We're the taxpayers.
Right. And, it also, beyond just the concerns over medical care, denying her food, denying her water, I mean, as far as I know, correct me if I'm wrong, a judge has not yet ordered her down.
No.
And, in the case of the Terrys, the judge said the U.S. Marshals would have gone in. So what would be the basis if a judge has not ordered her down? Are they even legally allowed to deny food and water if it's coming in from donations?
No, I don't think they should be doing that, no. Again, what kind of government denies people food and water when they're doing it? First, basically, I would consider, what does the First Amendment say? You have a right to peacefully assemble and peacefully protest and present your grievances to the government. That's what she's doing. And should she be allowed to get some food and water? Should she be collecting rainwater to drink? Come on. So, no, I think that if we really respect the American taxpayer and the American citizen, no, we wouldn't be up in arms. Most people should be shocked at what they're doing.
Right. And it seems to me also, obviously Red Terry was a little bit older than Nutty is, but at the same time, like you said, she's been up there over 50 days, rotating between frigid temperatures in March to now hot temperatures in late spring, and she might not know that nervous systems or systems in her body could be failing. So not to fearmonger, but something could go wrong rather quickly without any advance notice.
That's why the doctor wants to look at her to make sure, yes. And he's got a valid concern. Like I say, he's worried about, different, problems that could occur. And she's not a doctor. She doesn't know. She may be 28 years old, but 50 days up in that pod, not moving, I mean, could cause serious injury to her body. Mm-hmm. And that's all Gelberd wants to do, and he's exercising his First Amendment right, of his free religion. And again, I commend people who today look at what government's doing, how they're working with corporations, and they decide to take a stand for truth. And that's basically what this is about.
So what's the process from here? You've obviously filed this. When do you know about a court date and resolution?
We have no idea when the court date's coming up. So this is a novel lawsuit, by the way. This is the first one filed on the First Amendment, religious freedom, and under the Religious Freedom Restoration Act in Virginia, which says that if you're going to substantially burden someone's religious freedom, you got to show a compelling interest. And again, what's the compelling interest of the government in blocking this doctor's access to a brief investigation of this woman to make sure she's okay? There really isn't. So the court's going to be looking at this one very carefully because this is a new question presented to them.
Right. Thank you for taking the time. I will follow up with you.
Thank you, sir.
Have a good one.
There you have it. That was John Whitehead. He is with the Rutherford Institute, which filed a lawsuit against the U.S. Forest Service. And what's striking there in what he said, what kind of country deprives people of food and water? Usually like third world countries or authoritarian dictatorships, fascist states, or just the U.S. of A, or as I like to call it, the United States of Oil. Because make no mistake about it, the publicly funded officials in this state and this country, whether it's the U.S. Forest Service, whether it's the North Dakota Police, whether it's the St. Louis Police, whatever it is, whoever it is, they don't work for the people anymore. They're getting their marching orders from the politicians to protect the oil companies because the oil companies are buying off the politicians. So when a 28-year-old woman climbs up a tree or a monopod to protest, and she's doing it for an express purpose, to stop that pipeline, well, legally, a judge hasn't ordered her down. So you could say, well, it's the oil company's land. Well, it's not like during the civil rights movement that Martin Luther King and, black people looking for equal rights, they went over into their area where they were supposed to protest. No, most successful protests in American history don't follow rules of where you are and aren't to protest. And most of the time, to make your point, you have to protest a certain way or in certain places. So, and it's kind of disgusting anyway, which is a whole different story, that the oil company is getting eminent domain through forests and people's homes. And that is a major, major scandal that gets no media coverage because it has nothing to do with Russia or Trump, right? Who cares? Who cares if people are having a massive pipeline that can explode at any given point right under their property? Who cares if during pipeline construction, things, natural gas or worse, is leaking into water bodies and poisoning animals? Who cares? The oil company wants to export that natural gas. They got to liquefy it. They got to send it to Poland and Portugal and Mexico and China and all these places. And then when they make that money, because it's all about the money, baby, they'll put it into my campaign. People over profits, right? And I can tell you, because I was just in Virginia, thanks to a lot of you who are funding me through patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. A lot of you actually contributed via PayPal as well, which is awesome. That not only are you subscribing monthly, but you're also contributing trip by trip, because we're going to get out in the field a lot more. But let me tell you something. A 28-year-old woman, she doesn't have a gun there that I know of. She's not hurting anyone. She's up in Mother Nature trying to stop a very, very dangerous pipeline that has no business going through mountains, that has no business going through waterways, that has no business going in the ground. Because in Virginia, which is a kind of an inconvenient fact for the oil companies, they have existing pipelines that are only at like half capacity. That if you need more natural gas, use the pipelines in existence. But interestingly enough, Governor Ralph Northam, who I remember, the Democratic National Committee sending me fundraising email after fundraising email after fundraising email. We gotta keep Virginia blue. We gotta get Ralph Northam elected. I think the guy he was running against, I forget his name, but he was an awful Republican, was worse. But unfortunately, this whole lesser of the two evils, a lot of times still is bringing us corrupt people. And Ralph Northam, by the way, the Virginia governor, is the same governor that basically called Red Terry, who is an 61-year-old who, along with her daughter, were climbing up in their trees on their property, called them criminals. Criminals for protesting atop their trees on their property, because it is their property. According to the backwards bribery laws we have, it's the oil company's property now because they got it through eminent domain. But what kind of country? We talk about freedom. Well, are you really free if your land can be stolen from under you by the federal government at any given time to put things that could kill you right under you? Is that freedom? I don't think so. And let me tell you something. You know, I saw a lot of bad stuff at Standing Rock, and I saw a lot of bad stuff in Flint, and I saw a lot of bad stuff in St. Louis. But it's a new level of greed and inhumanity. Where is your humanity? You have a woman up there. You don't have to agree with what she's doing if you're the U.S. Forest Service. You don't have to. It could be an inconvenience for you. But you're going to literally let somebody up there possibly dehydrate and die? I mean, she's literally waiting for rainwater to fall down so she could drink it. I think she's eating energy bars. I don't know how many she has left up there. She can't get real food up there. She can't get real water. And by the way, at least for the Terrys who were protesting atop their trees, at least they would bring in like food from the prison. It was made in the prison. I mean, that's not ideal, but at least they had meals. They're literally risking a 28-year-old woman's life for an oil company. I mean, that's what this story is. It's really, really disgusting. And it's even more disgusting that breaking news. I'm looking, CNN next to me, something about Giuliani. Giuliani to PBS. A Mueller President Trump interview looks more hopeful. Because that's important. That's the most important thing. Let's not worry about the fact that this 28-year-old, I don't know her. I'm sure she's a strong woman. I mean, for all we know, certain faculties are failing in her body. That's why doctors went to try and evaluate her, and they were deprived to evaluate this woman. It's disgusting, and I will stay on it. Unfortunately, the realities of what my situation, I really wanted to go up to that protest camp. I really wanted to get as close to her as I could and show it to you, but I did just have back surgery, and it would entail pretty much hiking, I believe, for 1 mile to 2 miles to get up there, and that wasn't something I'm ready to do physically. I didn't want to set myself back, so I'm trying to cover it as much as I can. Hopefully when I get better, if she's still up there, I will hike up whatever mountain I gotta hike, because we have to show people this. This is happening in America. This isn't, some third world country. And this kind of not only criminalization of protest in America, but also essentially trying to starve out protesters, make them die of thirst. This is the new trend, and it's being allowed by courts, and it's being allowed by politicians. That's not okay. I mean, what are they going to do next? If you go and protest, school shootings, or you go and protest, Monsanto, or whatever you want to go protest, which is your right as an American if you do it peacefully, what are they going to do? They're going to put up walls around you so you can't get out and just keep you there and not give you water and food? It's disgusting. And there's a lot of people fighting in Virginia right now and West Virginia to stop these pipelines. Because, let me tell you something. Natural gas pipelines, which, if we're keeping it real, a lot of environmentalists 10 years ago were pushing as like, this is the best alternative we have right now. they are, one of the main products is methane. And if you do the research, methane is worse in many instances than carbon dioxide in terms of greenhouse gas effect and adding greenhouse gases, which are warming the planet. So all the methane that comes out and gets produced in these pipelines and comes out of that compressor station in Union Hill, where it's emitting into a poor black neighborhood, that's not only bad for the people in that neighborhood, that's bad for all of us. And when that pipeline leaks, it's just a matter of when. It's not if. I believe there's, I think they said 1,100 to 1,400 water crossings along the Mountain Valley Pipeline, which is going from West Virginia into Virginia. The Atlantic Coast Pipeline is going West Virginia, Virginia, North Carolina. North Carolina part of the pipeline, it's going to disproportionately affect a Native American tribe. But poor black people, Native Americans, same old story in America, right? Paul Bissot Gaming says methane cow farms are the most polluting thing on earth besides Fukushima. And I've gotten some complaints that I only cover water. Hey, we're trying to launch Status Coup. Don't think I don't know about big agro, baby. Don't think I don't know about the dangers of food. Oh, I know. That's why I want to hire other reporters so we could expose that. Help me do it. We're trying to launch Status Coup. Help me do it. Right now, we got 386 paid subscribers on my reporting Patreon. That's the amount. We need to dramatically increase all of that. Let's get it to 400 ASAP. Let's get it to 5,000 and 10,000 and beyond. Because the more funding we get, the more we can go out in the field. And the more we're out in the field, I believe good things will happen. I believe we will get more exposure. We're also growing this YouTube channel, even though YouTube's trying to stop it. Even though they're suppressing the content. We're doing it. We're almost at 13,000 subscribers. I've only had the channel since end of February. And that's, by the way, without half of you knowing when I'm live. Half of you don't even know when I'm live. That's why the audience keeps building as I go, because I look in the comments so often, I'll have like barely anyone watching, and then all of a sudden, like towards the end, you start getting more people watching because they're getting the video delivered to them later. They're not even getting notifications when they've opted. If you need a big donor, let us know you actually care. Hey, Kirk, from your lips to if there's a God's ears. If you need a big donor, let us know you actually care. I do need a big donor. I certainly do. It's all I could publicly say, legally. But we do need a donor. So, you know what to do. You know how to get in contact with me. Become a Patreon subscriber. You could also email me. It's email Jordan at Patreon. Email Jordan. Hold on, I'll type it in for you. .com. So, email me if you have ideas for stories, partnership collaborations, whatever. I'll try to answer you as fast as I can. So, why this is so important? It's not just about the pipeline, folks. It's not just about the pipeline. It's about what kind of country do we have? Do we have a country for big oil, or do we have a country for people? It's not going to be both. And I'm tired of big oil running amok. I'm tired of politicians who are sociopaths. I'm not supposed to say that as a journalist. I'm not supposed to give my opinion. Well, you know what? I think journalism is telling the truth. And the truth is, there's data, facts, and evidence that these pipelines are dangerous, that these pipelines leak, these pipelines explode, and these pipelines and fracking are running rampant and causing havoc to our planet. So you're damn right I'm going to tell the truth about that. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. And from one infuriating story to the next, you know what? Just when you think CNN and MSNBC can't get any lower, Proton. Email jordan@protonmail.com. The link is right up there in the chat. Just when you think CNN cannot get any lower, I see this story today. You ready for this, folks? Are you ready? Have you ate dinner yet? Because I don't want you to vomit. It's 8:15 Eastern. I haven't even eaten dinner. CNN and MSNBC are literally entertaining a show with, wait for it, take a guess, a show starring Michael Avenatti, Stormy Daniels' lawyer, and Anthony the Mooch Scaramucci, being pitched to CNN and MSNBC. I shit you not. So, if you forgot, the guy on the left, who I'm not even going to make any comments because I don't want to be stereotypical to certain people, was President Trump's communication director. I think he lasted 9 to 10 days. He had this little cute thing after the press conference. He was like, it was just a train wreck, absolute train wreck. And he, said all sorts of outlandish things. He made all sorts of ridiculous statements. He was a liar. I mean, pretty much what you would expect from a Trump administration person, but like on steroids. It was entertaining. I'm not going to lie to you. Like if you want train wreck TV, you got The Real Housewives or you got Anthony the Mooch Scaramucci. And apparently, CNN and MSNBC, instead of covering the Flint water crisis, which is still a crisis, instead of covering the East Chicago-led crisis, which is still a crisis, I'm about to get to that next, instead of covering people having to literally take extreme measures like protesting atop their trees to stop pipelines, instead of covering, insane amounts of black men getting murdered by police, instead of covering the bought-off Democratic Party, sorry, they're bought off. Instead of covering extreme things the Republican Party is doing, they want to have a show with Anthony Scaramucci and Stormy Daniels, the porn star's attorney. That's the guy on the right, who I can't tell anymore if he's like sleeping in the MSNBC and CNN green room, because he's literally on each channel every day, all day. I can't believe it. A Crossfire used to be a show on CNN. A Crossfire-style television show for 2018 is being pitched to CNN and MSNBC, starring none other than Anthony Scaramucci and Michael Avenatti. United Talent Agency President Jay Suarez has already met with CNN and MSNBC executives to present the idea, sources confirmed to Mediaite. The story was first reported by the New York Times. Mediaite has learned that in the pitch to MSNBC and CNN, it was emphasized that Avenatti likely could not start the show until after the Stormy Daniels case wrapped up. Scaramucci, made famous for the rollicking 11 days he served as President Donald Trump's communication director, I'm trying to keep a straight face and read this, has kept his name in the news but with a steady stream of cable news appearances. He was booted from the administration last summer after a colorful call with Ryan Lizza. That's right, he thought he was off the record, but he's an idiot. He wasn't. In which he declared that then White House official Steve Bannon likes to suck his own cock. I'm just reading it. Sorry to be vulgar. Avenatti's rise in the Trump era has been similarly dramatic. As the lawyer for Stormy Daniels, the porn star suing the president over a non-disclosure agreement she signed to keep quiet about an alleged affair with Trump, Avenatti has fought his client's case in the media. I mean, you can't, what can you say? What can you say? Let the mooch loose, right? Let the mooch loose. I got to tell you something. I mean, I'm not the morality police, folks. I'm not a perfect person. But these news outlets need to finally drop the veil and just say we're entertainment channels. You know, my beef with Fox News, besides it being propaganda, has always been, I don't mind there being a conservative channel. It's fine. You could have conservative news networks, you could have progressive news networks, as long as you're transparent about what you are. So people have intellectual honesty, truth in advertising. Fox News could say, hey, we're a conservative news outlet, but we invite all comers, all Democrats on. Fine. You want to do propaganda? As long as we know it's propaganda. Progressive media, I've always said what I am, what I believe. It does not affect my facts. I do not intentionally mislead the audience like a Fox. So if CNN wants to say, hey, we're going the direction of TMZ, and we're going to do more entertainment, we'll mix in, sprinkle some news here and there, but we're going to have two totally unqualified idiots to have a daily television show, and one is, a cheap imitation of the Fonzarelli, and the other one is like a 2-bit lawyer who's taking his 15 minutes of fame representing a porn star. Nothing against porn stars. Stormy Daniels is totally entitled to her representation. I still don't know what the scandal is. Like, if Trump paid off a porn star, is that breaking news that Donald Trump has affairs with porn stars? I mean, if he did something to threaten her, which she suggests, that's different. But all this hubbubaloo about Donald Trump paying off women, I mean, I'm sorry, but Donald Trump's like destroying the environment. Donald Trump is trying to toss people off Medicaid and cut heating assistance to poor people. And we're talking about his affairs with porn stars? Are you kidding? Have we learned nothing from Bill Clinton? Who I don't like for policy reasons, but I don't care who he took oral sex from in the White House. I really don't. Frankly, on the scale of morally outrageous things presidents did, Bill Clinton getting a blowjob here, George Bush lying us into a war, is up there. What do you think? YouTube will probably, censor this video because I used a bad word. But enough. And you know what? Let me tell you something. The half hour or the hour that they're going to give, it's not a done deal, but I mean, CNN and MSNBC are meeting with agents to go over the Avenatti Scaramucci show. What are they going to call it? The Fonzarelli Justice? I mean, it's outrageous. It's an insult to people struggling for coverage of being poisoned in Flint or East Chicago or black men being murdered. It's a slap in the face to Native American tribes who literally, Trump is trying to basically steal their reservations for drilling and mining. And CNN wants to give airtime to the Fonz and Avenatti. Well, why don't you, while you're at it, give Don King a show. Give Don King a show. Or MSNBC could pair, like, I don't know, the naked cowboy in Times Square with Newt Gingrich. I think that would be awesome. Why don't you get Dana Loesch from the NRA, that scary human being, and put her in with, like, I don't know, maybe like a Pillsbury Doughboy animation co-host? All I gotta say is this. We all need some entertainment in our lives. I think I'm probably too serious some of the time. That's why I try to watch funny shows when I have a chance, or something that entertains me, so I'm not all politics all the time. But let me tell you something. There's entertainment, which are entertainment channels, and then there's news channels. And news can be entertaining. I hope that my stuff is informative and entertaining. But let's just stop at this point pretending that we're living in a culture or we're living in a country that has a real fourth estate, because we do not. And you know what? The New York Times might not be giving like Anthony Scaramucci or Michael Avenatti like a column yet, but It's on the way, folks. In my podcast that I just recorded, which is exclusively for patrons, definitely check it out, patreon.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. All access to all my other podcasts that I've done, all access to the, I'm trying to do a couple of week video diaries, we're going to start pretty soon doing weekly, every single week, video calls with my patrons, even if I'm on the road, which will be harder, but I'll try. But on my podcast I just did, I talked about this a little bit, and I just absolutely went apeshit. Because I'm breaking my back every day. Jen is breaking her back every day. And her neck. Her neck is messed up this week. To bring stories that matter while we're being suppressed on YouTube. By the way, Facebook, I have never seen this kind of suppression. Do you know how many live viewers I had on Facebook while I was live on the road? Take a guess. People, take a guess in the chat. How many live viewers did I have on Facebook.com/Jordan Sheridan while I was live on the road covering this pipeline? 267. Try 4. Try 4 live viewers. So I have over 20,000 likes on my Facebook page. If you don't like it, I don't like you. How about that? Just kidding. Facebook.com/Jordan Sheridan. But Facebook now is literally making sure that like independent journalists aren't even seen. I mean, you want to talk about fake news? You want to talk about attacks on the press? Facebook is attacking the press. YouTube is attacking the press. These outlets are playing God with real stories, and they are hurting the people in Virginia and the people in Flint and all these places because their stories don't get out. And it's not just me. It's Jimmy and Lee Camp and Kyle Kalinske and Mike Figueredo. There's a certain outlet that hasn't been experiencing that type of suppression. Interesting. And isn't it interesting that when I mentioned suppression, all of a sudden my stream started buffering? That is interesting. Dazilla First Step says, first step of a fascist society, quiet the masses and don't let them have real journalism. Yes, you know what another step is? Censorship. That is one of the hallmarks of fascism. They aren't in the trees, that's for sure. No. Jen and I semi-climbed up a mountain to bring you the stories. And it's a shame because it's not that I want the views for vanity or just profit. I want the views because I want the stories to get out there. I mean, I interviewed a amazing older African-American gentleman. He comes from a lineage in his family. He has slaves in his family. There are slaves buried next to the church. They are dumping a compressor station. This guy, right next to the church, this guy would put Morgan Freeman out of business. He spoke with such a deep narrative voice. I was like hypnotized interviewing him. It's hard to even come up with questions because he talked a little slow, but that's fine. And it only has like 500 views because people don't even see when I publish the new video. People don't see when I'm live. So all I gotta say, the day that CNN or MSNBC has a show with Michael Avenatti and Anthony the Mooch Scaramucci is the day we protest and we don't leave. I'm talking CNN, MSNBC, any of them. We protest until they change their branding and their logos so they say we're an entertainment channel. We are not a news channel. And please check out those interviews if you haven't that I'm referring to right here on youtube.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. I got one more story for you, and then I'm gonna eat dinner at 8:30 at night and maybe take a bath, listen to some Enya. You know, I love my Enya. Servant of Versailles says, Teresa's feed started cutting right after she mentioned the Poor People's Campaign. I swear to God, there is somebody with a button watching our live streams. And by the way, if you're not aware, folks, Teresa Joy is an independent journalist. She's fabulous. She's been going live on my channel. I'm trying to put new faces in front of you. I believe next week we're going to introduce one other new journalist to this channel Because as I've said, the media revolution has to be much, much bigger than just Jordan. So I want to introduce you to other journalists who are fearless, aggressive, and they cover things I might not cover. And they have their own styles. Right now, I'm currently having discussions with someone to possibly come on board as my full-time camera person. I won't reveal anything about that person. But let's just say that person is awesome. But I need the money. I need the money, honey. I need the money to hire other reporters, and I need the money to hire a professional camera person. Frankly, some of those videos that Jen and I did out in the field, some of them looked like a nice little ghost story because we didn't have lighting. We don't have the right audio equipment. We don't have lighting. We didn't even have a camera. We were doing it off my phone with a shoddy iPhone mic thing that the cord was too short. It was a mess, but we did it. But be the media you want to see. Create the media you want to see. Some of you can't contribute financially. That's okay. Share these videos. Make separate posts. So don't just share it. Make separate posts telling people, subscribe here to YouTube. Give $1 a month. Subscribe at $1 a month, $3 a month. You'll get podcasts. You'll get video diaries. You'll get weekly video calls. We're doing everything. I'm doing a job of 20 people, and Jen's doing the job of 40 people. Real talk. Word of mouth is important. And you see what's happening. We were at, I don't know, 30 to 40 viewers live for most of this. It's not a coincidence that it keeps rapidly going up because the live streams are being delayed. It's an algorithmic thing. They are delaying delivery of videos. Ron Placone is also having this problem. I don't know, but I think Tim Black has had it. There's one outlet that's not having these problems. Go figure. So maybe a rally in Virginia, live, Jordan, with as many of us can be there. You start the revolution, folk. We'll have the cameras there. Media revolution, because at the end of the day, this is what we need. We need a status coup of the status quo. And I'm talking about a journalistic revolution. Keep your guns, keep your bows and arrows, keep your weapons at home. There will be no violence on my watch. But there will be really, really aggressive, annoying journalists in powerful people's faces. I can promise you that. I might get arrested once, twice, 3 times, or on a weekly basis, which my mother doesn't like. You want me to produce a rap album? There's a reason, back in my day, they did call me Darth Dreidel. They did call me Dr. Dreidel for a reason. That's right. You want me to do a rap? I will do a rap album. If we get, what are we at? Hold on. If you get me to 500 patrons by the end of May, which is a pretty ambitious goal, I will come on the air live and attempt to rap. 500 patrons. I will come on the air and I will rap whatever the hell you want me to rap. Because my investors, my funders are we the people. Dr. Dreidel. That's what they call me. Dr. Dreidel. I had a couple other nicknames in my day. But that's the one I like the most, Dr. Dreidel. Dr. Dre got nothing on me, baby. I'd want to pay people, though, and right now that's not possible. Jason, impossible is nothing. You've never heard that? Trust me. You guys, what's important also is to get that Patreon number up, to get the revenue up, So we could sell that to potential sponsors. So we could sell that to potential partners. There's a lot of different things we're trying to do to get more funding in. But the more we could show, hey, we already have this really large audience in a relatively small time. 13,000 subscribers we're about to hit, and half the people don't even know I'm live. 400 paid subscribers we're about to hit in 2 months. Half the people don't know I'm live. Promise you, half the people didn't even know. Jordan, I didn't see this in my subscription box or alerts till right now. Bingo! They are purposely suppressing real news. So their corporate fat cat advertisers don't, because they don't like it. And by the way, I still have not been monetized yet. This channel is not monetized. I have well over the amount of subscribers you need to get monetization. That's how Jimmy and Jamal are able to do their super chats, where on the right side of the screen you could do a super chat where people can contribute live at whatever. I mean, I've seen Jimmy get like $1, $5, $10, $50, sometimes higher. We can't do it because they haven't monetized us. First, they told Jen end of April. Then we go to them at the end of April. Now it's the end of June. You know, end of June, it will be in 2028. Okay, so when we get 114 more, you'll drop a freestyle. Jen, watch this. Mark my words. Save this video. We get to 500 patrons by the end of May. I will not only freestyle rap, maybe I'll get somebody you might know and like to join me. Maybe I'll get someone that could be we could have kind of like a rap battle, so to speak. I mean, it probably will be the worst thing you've ever seen in your life. Like worse than, you know, dogs crying, worse than a lot of bad things. It'll be terrible. But it will also be pretty epic, I can promise that. I'm just getting the ideas in my head for what I want to rap. As I walk through the valley of the bagel store, I take a look at my eyes and I take a nosh. Huh? Is that good? Is that okay? Can you do it at the house in front of Paul Ryan, douchebag? I'll do it wherever you want. Get me to 500 patrons. I'll go to an iceberg if I have to. There's more. There's more where that comes from. Now, I'm having a great time, by the way, but last story of the day. And share this video. Let's get it out. And you know the address. By the way, if you're a Patreon subscriber already and you're having a decent month, you could also change the amount you pledge. Some people have moved from $3 to $5. Some people have moved from 5 to 10. You know, I don't want to push the envelope here, but it's possible to change how much you've subscribed also. So keep that in mind. So from having fun to less fun, if you're familiar, when I was at Young Turks, I covered a lead poisoning story in East Chicago, Indiana. Shocker, poor black neighborhood. They literally built a poor government housing complex for African Americans on top of a lead smeltering plant. And the EPA, the state agency, never really monitored it or anything to see oh, how's the lead levels? Oh, is there other things than lead? When I was there for TYT, they found lead levels in the soil over 200 times the allowable limit for lead. Over 200 times the allowable limit for lead in the soil. They found arsenic in the soil. They found lead in the surrounding community soil. They found arsenic in the surrounding community soil. They found lead in water, even though an EPA official, when I interviewed him, told him this isn't a Flint, Michigan issue. There's no issue with the water here. 4 months later, lead in the water. And that got no media attention, barely any. couple articles, but that's it. I was there. I've been there 6 times. I was actually planning on going back there, but unfortunately, some things happened, and TYT, let me go. So, anyway, the government is not even doing a good job to clean up East Chicago. There's people sick in East Chicago. There are mothers. People in East Chicago told me, we always had like 4 or 5 women who were all young, like on the same block, getting these same kinds of cancers. And we just thought it was like coincidence and dumb luck. And then they see, oh, the lead, the arsenic, the groundwater contamination, the DuPont insecticide factory right here that was never regulated, really. The BP that's come in. So not only is nothing being done for East Chicago, but guess what? EPA discovers another lead-contaminated neighborhood, this time near East Chicago. The chickens are coming home to roost. And all the irresponsible, reckless industrialization that this country has done, and also the lack of investment in new infrastructure, is now coming home to roost everywhere. And it's one of the biggest scandals in America that it's not getting any coverage. Almost every time federal officials, this is from Chicago Tribune, almost every time federal officials test a yard in northwest Indiana, they find staggering levels of brain-damaging lead in the soil. The latest toxic neighborhoods uncovered by the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency are near an abandoned smelter that churned lead, arsenic, and other heavy metals into the air during most of the last century. Soil samples collected since October have identified more than 24 contaminated yards in Hammond and Whiting. And EPA officials expect to find more as they expand their investigation. Oh, the EPA investigates things. In a situation eerily similar to the lead contamination crisis still unfolding in nearby East Chicago, authorities failed to test residential areas next to the former Federated Metals property for more than 3 decades. Let me repeat. Authorities failed to test residential areas next to the former Federated Metals property for more than 3 decades, even though the EPA and the Indiana Department of Environmental Management designated it one of the region's most toxic industrial sites in the mid-1980s. Never wonder why it took the federal agency so long to get involved? Based on interviews and a review of documents, the history of the shuttered Federated Metals smelter appears to have been all but forgotten until 2016, when career employees at the EPA Chicago office began digging through files on polluted sites in northwest Indiana that either haven't been cleaned up or weren't scoured through thoroughly enough years ago. Quote, "It leaves you thinking they don't really care about us," said David Dabertine, a Hammond attorney who led the state environmental agency's Northwest Indiana office during the early 1990s. Nearly 10,000 people live within a mile of this former smelter. Between 2005 and 2015, 53 children younger than age 6 in census tracts surrounding the site had lead levels exceeding federal health guidelines. More than 8% of those tested, according to data provided by the Indiana State Department of Health. The ongoing inquiry is part of the EPA's response to a national criticism of its slow reaction to polluted water in Flint and the lead-contaminated housing in East Chicago. And I don't need to read the rest because it's the same song and dance everywhere you go. And by the way, frankly, this article, although I think overall, credit to them for covering it, gives the EPA a little bit too much benefit of the doubt. Because the EPA, by the way, the EPA, and I've seen it all over the country, the EPA is not testing places they know they should be testing on purpose. And the EPA is also not testing for every single thing they should be testing for, because you know what happens when you test all these areas as frequently as you should, which for most of these places was about 20 years ago? You know what happens? You'll probably find a lot of stuff like lead and arsenic and other particulate matter, bacteria, which has been found in Flint. And you know what happens then, folks? Ooh, we need to do more testing. And we might need to dig out those pipes. And we might need to go in and remediate near those factories. And we might need to go in and clean some of the water streams around there. And you know what that is, folks? Money, 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 money. Money. Money, 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 money. Because they'll spend the money on a giant, Trump wants to spend money on a giant parade for veterans, which, you know, I don't want to like attack celebrating veterans, but we don't need a parade for veterans. We need to stop sending them to illegal wars. We need to stop sending them to risk their lives for oil. That's what we need to stop doing. That's how we can help veterans. And, you know, Trump wants to spend money on like bolstering the border so we can stop MS-13, which is, he doesn't care about MS-13. It's just a blatant play to his racist base, a lot of racists in his base. And, you know, the Democrats, if they get in, they're going to want to spend money on mostly bullshit, too. Obama? I didn't hear Obama talking about changing the pipes, remediating water. Hell, Flint and East Chicago happened with him at the helm. President Obama. Most of this testing that should have been done in East Chicago and Flint and other poor communities, because Flint is poor black and white. East Chicago is poor black and Latino. They didn't happen because, as Michael Moore said it, I give him credit, people in Flint are poor and they don't have lobbyists. Same thing in East Chicago, and the same thing at these communities now. In nearby East Chicago, Hammond and Whiting. Hammond and Whiting. And honestly, I'm a little overwhelmed because when we do launch the company, when we do get back in the field, I'm thinking like, how many arms do I have? How many microphones do I have? How many camera people do I have? Because every day there's a new community. Now they're finding all sorts of contamination near military bases all over the country. Because military bases have I always mispronounce it, PFAS, poroflunaric acids, which were dumped in the water in the Cape Fear River, which contaminated that river, where 500,000 people get their water in Wilmington, North Carolina from that river. It was dumped into the Ohio River Valley, those chemicals, and it causes cancer. And companies have been allowed to basically dump this chemical that's used to make Teflon and other cooking products. Hey, it's about the money. The money, honey. So, sometimes people ask, what do we do, Jordan? What do we do? Well, for starters, we need to launch an official media company. And my hope and my goal, and I think Jen and I have great strategy to make it happen, is you cover stories people don't cover, which activates people, and then the people pass the baton, and they go out and they protest, and they demand answers, and they storm politicians' offices, and they flood mayors' offices and governors' offices. That's how you get change. And I've seen it. I've seen it with stuff I did at TYT, that the audience got inspired enough to take action themselves. My activism is the journalism. That's my form of activism. It's been lovely, lovely coming to you tonight. I gotta go eat. I need a haircut too. This is getting a little out of control. I should probably shower, since I haven't yet today. Just keep it real. That was a very busy day, and very busy in a good way. I don't want to jinx it, so I'm not going to say it, but something I've been working on for a while is starting to get momentum for it to happen. And I think when it happens, number one, important information will get out there. But number two, I think it will help us with everything we're trying to do to launch a status coup. Thank you for watching. Watch these videos on youtube.com/Jordan Sheridan Reports. Watch Teresa's videos. Stay tuned for a new journalist to join in the fun next week. And as always, most people are not lacking compassion. Most people don't know what the fuck is going on. Peace.